Hello, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Yep, and thanks for joining us on Weird Awakenings tonight. We are going to be talking about, and I'm going to butcher this. Go ahead, Tully. You do it good.
It's the Aokigahara Forest.
There you go. That's
Is
the
that
one.
how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I mean, Aokigahara Forest all week.
Yeah, I thought I was doing it pretty good, and then I froze there when it was time to actually say it. So
Aokigahara.
that's right. It is considered one of the most haunted places in the world. It is second only to the Golden Gate Bridge for suicides per year. So it is also known as the Suicide Forest.
Damn, America's still number one, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's it. So, but a lot of things are have been going on there, for centuries. I mean, it's always been that it was haunted. The way that the trees and stuff grow in this forest, they're so close knit together that there's not even like wind blowing through it. So you don't get the leaves rustling and everything like that. It's at the foot of the Fiji Mountains.
Mount Fuji.
Mount Fuji.
Yeah, Fuji. There you go. And there's an old, I guess it would be like an old, they consider it folklore, or at least people that are like in charge over there prefer that people don't talk about it. But it was said that back in times of famine, that to make it easier, that what they would do was lure an elderly family member out into the mountains or the woods and leave them to starve to death and everything, because it was better for everyone else. And they think that that's where a lot of the legend about it, being the Suicide Forest came from, was, from all that time ago. But, who's to say? They actually do a search every year for bodies through the forest.
Now, before we go any further, I want us to make sure that we say this, is that if anyone who's listening is contemplating suicide, that there is help out there for them, and
Absolutely.
that we're not trying to make light of the subject, and that, if you are having suicidal thoughts, be sure to call the suicide hotline.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Don't do that.
Nothing is so bad that you need to take your own life.
Absolutely not. And definitely thank you so much, Hadley, for stressing that.
Yeah.
All right. So the sea of trees. What did you guys find in your searching?
I found out a lot of people killed themselves there. And there's apparently a suicide season, and it's at the end of the fiscal year or something like that. It's in March right now, is like the peak of the suicide season there. I don't know why that is. I guess people.
So I first heard about this forest probably in 2008. The old Voss network, before it became what it is today, it was just literally a documentary like channel on YouTube.
Yeah, kind of like the Learning Channel used to actually be about learning.
Yeah. So Voss used to send people all over the world for different documentaries. Like they had one guy who crossed the Amazon and documented that trip. So they had a guy go spend time with hey Landa. Hey Mike.
Mike.
Hey, Landa.
They had a guy go spend time with a professional suicide hunter, almost like a park ranger for the Aokigahara, and his job was to go out every day and look for dead bodies.
Yes.
And that documentary really hit home. I mean, yeah, there was some paranormal aspects to it, but the sheer number of suicides and the fact that they can't find them all, to the point where they have to send out somebody every single day to look for bodies.
Yes.
Is eerie.
Yeah. And they also have like suicide prevention counselors that just go through the forest, randomly looking for people that they think may be at risk. and everything too. They have signs up around the forest that, say things like your life is a precious gift from your parents, or think carefully about your children and your family. So like I said, the country itself is very aware of what goes on over there, and actively try to help people.
So it said, and I made a note of this. It said that
Corey.
the history. Oh, sorry, Stephen.
Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
That's like
Hey,
Carrie.
guys.
Is it Corey? Carrie? Is it Carrie?
Carrie.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What were you saying, Lisa? Or Sully? I'm sorry.
I was just saying that I guess it all started, like the whole suicide deal, as far as why it's this forest, because of a 1960s novel. So talk about the power of books, Hadley. The 1960s novel Tower of Waves. The book is about two lovers who commit suicide beneath the Aokigahara trees, and it glamorized it to a point to where people were like, okay, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be under the Aokigahara trees.
Oh, wow.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because the stuff that I found was mainly looking at it from the video documentary that I watched. Is a lady, she does a lot of stuff about death. She's a mortician, but her co-producer on her show is from Japan, and she's actually been there. And she was saying that it really wasn't a big thing there. Like, everybody makes it out to be here. And it wasn't until a YouTube influencer went through and filmed a documentary there, which he went through Japan and just did ridiculous things anyway, but he had actually filmed a body hanging from a tree in the forest. And
Wow.
that kind of,
Mhm.
again, stirred up the glamour, and that's when they saw an increase in bodies and things being found there again.
Oh, Logan Paul.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know if this is around the
What
same.
year was that?
It hasn't been that long ago, I don't
No,
think.
it hasn't. Probably in the last 2 or 3 years.
It was before
Okay.
But
the vid.
The main thing that she stressed was that depression was a big issue in Japan,
Mhm.
and that a lot of Japanese people did not consider mental health something that needed to be treated like we see that here in the West, and that was a
Well,
large part of the problem. But
the
there
work
was a
ethic.
decrease. I'm sorry, Tully.
I was just going to say, you're right. From what I've seen, the work ethic is insane in Japan. Like, people go to work and will literally like sleep out in the parking lot because they don't have that much time off of work.
Mm-hmm. Well, the pandemic there was an increase in suicides then, but it had kind of, I guess, not that it was great, but at one point in time they were like the number 2 place in the world for suicides,
Mhm.
and then it had kind of leveled out some. But with the pandemic and everything, they've seen a rise in depression, and
Right.
it was the majority was women who were committing suicide, but since the pandemic they've seen a rise of like 13% of men.
It's strange that the women would be the higher percentage, because typically don't men do that more often? Kind of like serial killing.
Well, in the East, like, and I think Japan and China, women aren't valued as much as they are in the West
Mhm.
by their
Um,
families.
Right.
So yeah, it says the statistic that I found, up to 105 bodies on average are found per
Yeah, that was
season, I
in
guess.
2003. In 2003, I believe it was 105, and then more recently, I think it was as low as 54 or something like that.
But you have to think, how many residuals are they not finding every year?
Exactly.
Right.
They say a lot of bodies aren't ever found.
Because they, even just for
Right.
hikers there, they warn, like, if you go off path, it's such a dense forest, very easy to get lost.
Yeah.
Which is another component in that documentary. people were tying off ribbons and like those almost, those Buddhist strings. I forget what they're called, with like the flags on them. You know what I'm talking about?
Fair flags.
Yeah, people were using strings of those too to, like, if they were camping off trail, they would use line or something like that to be able to find their way back. But that's what these park rangers are checking. They're doing wellness checks because a lot of times they tie off like that and it'll lead to the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd read something about that too, that they, even if you bring a tent, they think that you're more apt to be suicidal, and that if you're staying for a couple of days, it's because you're contemplating whether you want to actually go through it or not. Just talking to some of the people that worked that have worked there.
When it comes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was done.
Oh, when it comes to this place, like they say that you hardly even hear wind or anything, and like it's got very like sparse wildlife. Like, do you think that some people that just go out there to camp may be overwhelmed with the thought of doing this to themselves just because it's kind of like if you're in like the world's quietest room. If you sit in there too long, you can be driven to the point of madness to where all you can hear is your own blood flow. Mm-hmm. Do you think that something like that could take place in this area?
Possibly, because I remember when we went to the underground sea up in Tennessee it's been about 10 years ago or so. While you're in there, they turn off the lighting and everything. And I mean, it is the most pure black that, you could imagine. And they said that during the Civil War, they tried to use those cave systems, as a place, for people to sleep and rest and everything, but said anybody that was in there for any length of time would start, like say, there's just not enough noise there. There's not enough there. And they would gradually just start kind of losing it. So I could see that, in a place like the forest where there's just not the normal, what you consider forest sounds. Because when I'm out in the forest, I'm listening to the wind and everything. Go ahead, Stephen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the forest over there, I mean, the trees are really thick, and what I thought I read was that the majority of the ground is covered with moss. So I know that if y'all have ever been in a room that echoes, I mean, carpet is something that would dampen the sound and the echo, or you could always hang blankets or something like that. So with everything, all the vegetation, with the type of vegetation that they have, that's going to dampen all of the sound in the forest for the most part.
Well, and we didn't mention, I don't know how to really pronounce it. It's either seppuku or seppuku. You're talking about ritualistic. No, this would be just the ritualistic suicide that's embedded in Japanese culture.
Oh, yeah.
Was that the
shame to the family or something like that?
That's the one where, I mean, even in ancient times, like if you were dishonored somehow, it was like, like an act of glory almost. And
right,
I think that's kind of bled over into modern day culture. If they feel dishonored or, in a place where they think that, they can't come back from it, I think it's culturally, looked at as maybe an honorable way to go.
Right.
I could be wrong on that, but it seems that way from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that makes sense. Like I said, and they do have a completely different set of, I don't want to say ethics, because ethics are kind of, different people think of them different ways, but just like you say, sleeping outside at your work area, my husband was recently talking about, he's got multiple friends in China. And he was talking about the fact that men are expected not only to be able to take care of their home and their family, but their parents and their spouse's parents, because it's just, that's their culture. That's their tradition, that's what's expected of a man when he becomes an adult. So, that's a lot. I mean, hell, it's a lot of stress on one person trying to take care of a family, much less, somebody that's got that expectation.
Right. And I don't know. Do we want to go into weird with it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, always.
One thing that's weird to me about it, because I always thought that caves were always stayed like a neutral temperature, like a nice kind of livable temperature.
Mhm.
But there's an actual cave in this area. It's called the I'm going to mispronounce it, Navraswawa, like Narussawa cave, and it's a
Okay.
frozen cave. It's a frozen cave. It never gets above 37.4 degrees, and it's always frozen.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah.
That is odd.
What is it? A temperate climate there? Do they get what they like? Do the leaves fall off the trees and stuff? I imagine so.
Yeah, it gets cold there.
Well,
but
yeah, I saw pictures of ice and snow in the
Well,
forest.
Mount Fuji is very cold.
Mhm.
Right.
But when I think of a cave, I always think of a temperate, like
Mhm.
upper 50s, lower 60s or something.
Right.
What's
Never
strange?
frozen.
Strange that if it's a temperate climate, that'd be like walking in the Mammoth Cave and it's freezing during the summer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Right. See,
Maybe
where some of
that's
the caves,
portal to the underworld.
some of the caves in northwest Arkansas, they maintain a temperature somewhere between 65 and 68.
That's about like Mammoth Cave.
Mhm.
It's cool, like if it's 90 degrees outside in the summer, it's probably 65 down there.
Mhm.
Right.
But,
Which is awesome.
but it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
Arctic temperatures.
I
Like
really love to find a big old cave to live in.
You and me
Mhm.
both.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll call it a hobbit hole and live happily ever after.
Put up my doormat that says "Go the fuck away."
Uh-huh.
that's a
Yeah.
big duck.
I thought we was allowed one per episode. I'm sorry, I haven't got
Go
one
make
out.
sure you got yours in.
Mhm.
I haven't said one in months. Come on, man.
All right. So where were you going with the weird, Stephen?
Well, to me, in my understanding of things, is that there are certain areas of the world that have a more sinister presence all of the time than other places do.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering if this could have been one of those. This could be one of those places that that has that effect on people. Where there's a darkness to this, not necessarily the forest, but just to the geographical area.
Well,
Because
Mhm. Go ahead.
I'm not sure how far this forest is from those giant steps that have been found underneath the water off of Japan. But I mean, if you look at those steps, they weren't for people our size, I don't think.
Right.
Mhm. Yep. Well, I know I was reading that in Japanese mythology, the forest is considered to be haunted by demons.
I've got a demon for that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically where I was going. Go ahead.
Shoot.
Well, demons in the Japanese myth and folklore are very different
Yes.
than they are in the West.
Yes.
And I mean, like, vampires are considered demons, and giants would be considered demons, and anything that we would consider just like a supernatural folklorish creature would probably be considered a demon by them.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
you're opening up a whole can of worms with
Yeah.
that statement.
Right.
And
You just don't understand their stuff.
Yeah.
I think that America, or at least North America, is probably unique in the fact that we separate them all.
Mhm.
Like a lot of people, like our friend in South Africa, they pretty much classify everything as their word for demon.
Mhm. Well, the thing about demons, and this is just again in my research, what I've come to believe is that what Catholicism has us believe are demons is just one thing. It's just we've talked about a malevolent spirit. But there's so much that doesn't even touch, you know? It's just like an angelic is pretty much I guess like a demigod with wings. They're in every culture, but they're not called angels. But every culture's the gods of that culture will have those almost like knights to a king that follow them that have wings.
So what you're saying is you're trying to make the difference between like an elemental and a fairy and other things like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
Was that tracking?
not
Did I get off track there?
well. Is in a way, I consider elementals different, I guess. But
Right. Yeah.
I'm just trying to say, like, to me, that the malevolent entity that we know as a demon is just probably what they would call like a leech or something else. A jinn might, it's. I mean, the
jinn. That's what Muslims call demons.
I mean, so there's just. Like I said, the denominator. I can't even speak. Sorry. The label of demon is I speak in tongues. No. The label of something being demonic is something I think we need to redefine. As a I guess American, I don't know.
Even when you get some into fiction writing and stuff, what was it, the Golden Compass? Demons are like your spirit animal that walks with you. I mean, so like I said, it's a totally different concept.
All right. So, you mentioned a book. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Go ahead.
But you mentioned a book that was written in 1965. Was that somewhere around that time frame?
Yeah, it was in the 60s.
Right. I'm sure all of you are familiar with people who may fall under some type of a trance and they'll do the automatic writing, where something else seems to take over their body. They do that. I just wonder if part of that could have been inspired with that book.
That's an interesting theory. I was going to say earlier too, when you brought up the giants and these ancient sites that are within the forest, when we talk about, like the first 20 minutes, when we were talking about suicides, you have to understand everything that we've talked about up to this point is only happening within a half a mile from the entrance of this forest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just a speck compared to how big this forest is.
I think it's like 14 square miles or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. 14 miles.
So
it would be easy to get turned around and lost in there whenever all the terrain looks the same.
Well, and since we're getting into the weird, one common occurrence is your compass starts spinning.
Yeah, electrical devices mess up there a lot too.
Well,
but could that be contributed to the fact that it's laying on a lava field?
Yeah,
of course.
Mount Fuji did erupt there, like what? I don't know, 500 something BC, maybe 1000 BC or something. And like basically the pathways there are lava pathways. So it could be that.
It's true. I was the mountain.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, it's also a popular belief in Japan that if a person dies,
totally
good. Okay, if a person dies with a deep sense of hatred or anger or sadness or wanting revenge, that their soul can't leave this world and that they'll continue to wander, appearing to be like under a spell, to those that cross their path. And I think they're called Uri, something like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Or something like that.
Yeah, something like
I
that. But said
I think I may be the same article I sent you, Toby.
okay.
Because
Cool.
That's
if it is,
really
the bottom
weird.
of that article was
Yeah, was that's also the one where they were talking about having to sleep next to a corpse or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, hang on. I know I've got that somewhere over here.
Yeah.
Let me look.
That was insane.
Was that
I was sitting here
Stevens
reading that.
song?
Say what?
Yeah. What was that Ray Stevens song? I ain't sitting up with the dead no more.
Yeah.
Since the dead
Oh,
started
yeah.
sitting up on their
I thought you were gonna say something about that squirrel and that what was
The
it? The,
revival. Squirrel to revival. Or
yeah, the revival.
Mississippi Squirrel Revival.
Yeah.
I don't think you're interrupting anybody, Stephen. I just think because of the issues you're on like maybe a second delay.
Okay.
Yep, that's right.
So no need to apologize.
Okay, yes. Okay, I found the page. Okay. Said, even without believing, okay, because they talk about the trees almost having a live look because of the way they grow and stuff like that. That said, when the forest guardians find a dead body, they will take it to a special room designed for dead bodies that can be found next to the forest. Here, the body will be placed on a bed. What is more interesting, though, is that a guard will sleep in the same room with the body. This may seem surprising, but it is said that if the corpse is left alone in the room, its Yuri will move around all night in the dormitory screaming and being deranged. Then it gets real good. The guards play rock, paper, scissors to decide who will be the unlucky one to sleep during the night next to the body. But said, that just shows how much they believe in and how, they're afraid of fallen souls.
What is I mean, there's such thing here as it's like a really old tradition, but I'm pretty sure it's called last watch, where like during the night of the wake, you stay with the body, but you don't sleep next to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wake. That's what a wake is. You stay up with them.
Uh-huh.
I don't
They
know.
don't go anywhere.
There are still people that follow the tradition, and I don't personally I would not want to do this, but I mean, a guy I worked with, his wife's family did it. They actually still bring the body of their dead relative home to stay until the funeral.
There's some people that live.
No.
There's some people that live less than an eighth of a mile from me that do that still.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do have a set of, which you guys know, I collect weird things. I stumbled upon a set of like 18th century wake candles.
Nice.
Really?
Super, super old.
We gotta line those bad boys up.
They're made by a company that still exists today, but this company that exists today only makes candles for the Catholic Church.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, the big candles that you see when you walk into a mass or whatever.
Right. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But that tells you how many Catholics are in the world if they've stayed in business just making candles for the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you guys those sometime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy. I would love just to hit your collection for like a day, just to see what all you have.
I forget about stuff. Like I would have never thought about those candles if we hadn't been talking about wakes.
Yep. Yes, the Tully collection is going to be. Did you ever watch the show, the series Friday the 13th, where they went around and collected like haunted objects so they could put them in a vault?
That's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah, I've got.
And now it's Tully. Tully's taking on the torch.
I've got. Right. Let's see. We have multiple. Back in the day, they used to nail silver inscriptors to the wooden coffins that were made out of like pure silver.
Right.
And those have, obviously, if they were made out of pure silver, they weren't going to stay there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got at least one of those and a cast iron one that came off of somebody's at some point.
Wow.
The collection I'm
Really?
worried about the most is the one you have in your backyard. I've been thinking about telling the police about it recently, but I regress. So when it comes to this forest, what do you think the spiritual aspect of it is? Because like people hear blood curdling screams and like people whispering to them and like footsteps and all kinds of stuff in this place.
Well, it's I don't know. It's hard to dismiss the. I don't know. It seems as though there's some darkness there and some dark spirits there in that forest.
Well,
It's
The Buddhist monks sure do think so. They go out there and set up altars and stuff to kind of ward away the bad spirits that draw people in.
we know the magnetism creates problems. I mean, like we talked about the compass, but that same energy could amplify energies of the spiritual nature as well.
Well, let's just peel back the layers here. I mean, obviously, if people are going there and being influenced by whatever, let's just say, to commit suicide, there's some bad juju there. So I think Stephen was dead on. There's just some places that, for whatever reason, they might have some negative energy trapped there. Just like
right.
I mean, it's almost like a cancer of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the land is sick there, and as long as people are going and feeding that sickness, then it's not going to get healed. And that's probably what the Buddhist monks are trying to do, is to heal the earth. But if, let's say, you have 10 people that come in and pray for the earth to heal, but you have 20 come in and commit suicide, then it's not ever going to heal.
That's a very powerful energy. I mean, you're talking about a forceful ending to life, like an abrupt stop of energy, and very traumatic too. And if you look at haunted places all over the world, your most haunted places, even without the magnetic component, like the polarity component that could amplify it, the most haunted places are super traumatic imprints like that.
Well, I think you have to look at it. I mean, it's not that people are going there and killing each other. It's it's a sadness. It's a sickness. It's not a angry hate. It's not, I mean, and please no one hate on me for this, but like when you look at some place like Afghanistan, it is rooted in hate. Afghanistan is a place that is rooted in war. It is a place that, Alexander the Great was the only person that was ever able to conquer it. And even then, he was only able to do so by people marrying into the tribes. But, and even that didn't really control that area. But it's a place that it's built on the blood of others, and there's a lot of negativity in that area that you can't wash that away. So there are places that are sick.
Oh, okay. Well, see, you brought up Afghanistan. There were 2 giants that were killed in the early 2000s in Afghanistan. Just think about that.
The giant
to me, there's a connection.
So let's explore that for a second. So, I mean, we know that if there were giants, that they were probably Nephilim, and we know that based on the texts and the studies that the Nephilim did have power of influence over man. So, if you were the giant of death or something like that, then you may have a span of influence that would cover that kind of area.
Right. It's just like with the spirits, not every spirit is a good spirit. I mean, if there's a collection of dark spirits there, demonic spirits there, that's no stretch at all for me to imagine that this could be part of what draws people in from the city.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and one aspect that I don't think that it probably, I just thought about it was how many people go there just out of curiosity and then get in there and get overcome and decide to end it, going in with no intention of harming themselves.
Yeah. And just
it's
go
kinda
there
like,
as a curiosity.
Right, exactly. Because especially with social media and everything being what it is now, they glamorize a lot of these places that really don't need to be glamorized. So, of course, let's go look. We're going to spend the night there. I could do it. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, if people don't believe that there are dark forces in a spiritual realm on this planet, I mean, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, that's as real as what we are.
Well, it's like those Constantine comics. It's like, it's okay if you don't believe in them, but they do believe in you.
Hadley, what's your favorite quote?
I'm gonna go. I was about to say, y'all know what Jim Butcher says. And that's just because you don't see the invisible demon about to eat your face doesn't mean it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
We're living in a time where people are there. I mean, we talk about our weird verse, but why is that our tagline? Because the multiverse, because of the verse, because there's so many people who are now opening up to the possibility of these other realms all around us. Quantum physics has been pointing to this for some time. Shamans, medicine men, witches, your wise women of your tribes, for millennia, these people have been talking about these other worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're just starting to see the collective consciousness of our world awaken to it. But it's been there all along.
Yes. Those worlds are just as real as ours is.
Yes.
Even though we can't see them, they're just as real.
Yes.
Sometimes I think that I'm just like, okay, what's my luck that I ended up here and not in like one of these other lands? You know what I mean?
Well, who's to say that you haven't? I mean, y'all know this is a little bit out there, but one of my strong beliefs is that we were all, and I mean, I believe this I would say, those of the weird kids that I know, I believe that we were reincarnated at this time for a specific reason.
So do you think this is the lowest level?
No.
Sometimes I wonder about that.
It's not the lowest. We could be like,
I don't believe. I mean, I'm going to say that I believe that our souls are here for a reason now, and that we've done a lot of other stuff, and there's a reason that we're here to bring the light into these dark times. There's a reason why we have, I don't know how many people are listening to us right now, but there's a reason why 5 people listen to us regularly, those 5 people get something from listening to us. But there's a reason we're having these conversations. There's a reason why people are open to listening. There's a reason why people sit out there and they go, "Oh man, that's Stephen. He said something that really got to me." Or Tully or Cecil.
Or you.
There's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason why I wanted to really open our doors and reach out to people in the metaphysical community regularly, because there are people there that they're going to hear the message that we have, and they're going to help us grow to understand why we're here.
Yeah. Well,
I think I'm the most intelligent of us 3.
Okay. Tully's going to be useless for the rest of the night.
Yeah. I may have to reel him back in with the what is this?
Am I going to have to talk about the big duck again?
Oh God!
Talk about who?
The big duck.
Am I gonna have to send y'all pictures of that so you know what I'm talking about?
Well, you
can't share it.
remind me later, and I will send you the latest news from Mississippi after we're done. So,
what did I miss?
you read it. I sent it to you and Tully the other day. Brookhaven. The accident in Brookhaven.
Oh, there's been numerous. There Norfolk. Somebody needs to go in and check them out. They've had like 3 train crashes in a month.
Oh no, this is so much not that.
Y'all, I've had a rough week emotionally.
Oh.
Well, I did all that training, so I'm wiped out, man.
Well,
So be kind.
Just so happens I've been wanting to catch some dongs.
Please tell me not for
this is not watching Weird Ash.
Ashhole is one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's awesome.
you know what? Maybe one of those zombie viruses is in the cave under Aokigahara.
Oh my goodness, it very well could be. And was you the one that sent me that they are trying to awaken a zombie virus they have found in the permafrost somewhere?
I'm telling y'all, don't pay attention.
Yes.
Don't pay attention to it. They've been trying to awaken the zombie virus for years.
Bring it on.
They're probably just using the catchphrase zombie because that's like going to get people to click on it.
Right.
I'm ready. I'm
ready.
Let's do it.
We would expect no less than you making an entrance. Yes, no, I do agree that zombie is, clickbait, but I'm still going to always fall back on Jurassic Park people.
Well, I told y'all that I spoke with our lovely, beautiful friend Tracy Crosby the other day, and she told me just batten down the hatches and don't believe anything you read on the news because they're trying to create the mass panic.
Is that a dinosaur track?
That was a dinosaur track.
Did I not get it? What the fuck?
That's the big
Well, I'll tell you,
like
on the dark web, I did see a video. I do not know whether it was real or not. I cannot verify whether it was real, of another country that had a live dinosaur. It was little, but it looked. It looked prehistoric.
Really
with the oxygen like it is, even if we brought dinosaurs back, it's very likely they wouldn't grow to the size they used to back then. Either.
They won't,
right?
But they'd have to cut it with another animal, like how they're cutting the
dragons.
They're cutting the mammoths with the elephants.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like people who make those hybrid wolf dogs. And yeah, they're beautiful, but they're still wild.
Oh yeah.
You know what? They would have to cut.
Look, I don't want to seem any crazier than usual, but
they'd have to kill a dinosaur with a chicken.
They say the chicken is one of the closest relatives to the dinosaur.
So I don't know if the video was real or not, but I swear to God, it looked like a poodle-sized triceratops.
Oh, I'd like to have that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, most
I don't know if you could
most of the dinosaurs. By the way, sorry. Most of the dinosaurs were between the size of a sheep and a bison.
Yeah.
You had some big ones, but a lot of them were a lot smaller.
Well, I think that we need dragons.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Chasing the dragon all my life.
Who's to say? I figured the dragons were real. It just depended on what the people in whatever culture it was that had them called it.
I think they were real too.
Well, have y'all ever seen those? What is it, like the cylinder type things that I know y'all. I'm not the only crazy one in this group that's probably watched this, but it's like an iridescent thing that you see flying around, and it's I can't say the word. It's like a cylinder or cylindrical, but
cylindrical.
Yes, that's it. But it makes me think of like the Chinese dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought that's probably just them in another dimension. They just, over here doing their thing.
Yeah.
Going back and forth.
Right.
I think you are the only crazy one of us, Hadley.
Yeah, I bet. Me and Cecil were the only. Me and C-Bone. Me and C-Bone.
You and C-Bone.
I want to know when the album's coming out. I mean, because everybody's getting one for Christmas.
It's hot fire.
Hey, Mona.
Hey, Mona.
So
we got Mona, we got Landa, we got Mike Lewis, we got some Ashhole. What else we got?
We got Carrie.
Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is all up in the house?
There's other people, but I can't see who they are.
Ashhole's not crazy. He was tested several times. That's what I say. My therapist says I'm not crazy. She says it's just trauma.
I will go get tested, but they won't let me buy guns no more.
Yeah, that's my mom. I don't know.
Hey, David.
I shouldn't say this on there. No, my mom carried me to the doctor to make sure I wasn't crazy when I was a kid.
I think we can probably all fall back on that.
Now, my mama used to say that I'm not. Everybody's crazy, but me and you, and sometimes I wonder about you.
Yeah. They'd probably be afraid of what impact I would have mentally on the doctor, if I'm being honest.
Well, I actually had one tell me one time that I did not need her services, but boy, my family sure could use her. So either I'm damn good, or we might need to revisit her certifications and stuff. Hey, you two stop.
Funny story, Ash. I was cleaning out my wife's car.
And you found an AK? What the hell?
I was cleaning up my wife's car to sell it, and there was a box that appeared to be a faucet, like a sink faucet. Open it up, and there's about 2,000 rounds of AK-47 ammo in this sink box.
Some leftovers.
Not mine. It was her father's before he passed on. She thought it was legit faucet, is why she kept the box, by the way.
Never know when you need a new faucet.
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's why you never throw a box out without looking in it either.
Mm-mm.
I mean, because I've still got gifts I bought for my nieces like 15 years ago, and I bought them in like July. And then I put them up, and I still haven't found them. So
were any of them Barbies?
No.
Oh.
One was a dolphin, and one was some kind of horse, because that's what they were into at the time. I don't know if they like dolphins and horses now or not, but after I die, they clean all my stuff out. They're going to find 2 wrapped gifts with little girl gifts in them.
I don't know why, but the idea of writing a metal song called Dolphin Horse just popped in my head. Write that down, totally.
I can't. I don't always interrupt with my intrusive thoughts, but one of my intrusive thoughts earlier, when Hadley was talking about it being a cancer upon the earth, I'm like, this would make a killer metal song. It was like poetry. It was.
Well, there are so many things you could write about cancers on this earth.
I have a lot of intrusive thoughts.
Mhm. We call those shinies in my house. Those thoughts that you're just like talking normally and everything just shoo.
Yes.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah. So I used to write a lot of that stuff down, and then I started thinking about the fact, what if somebody found this? Because they make perfect sense to me, and they probably make a lot of sense to you all. But the average person would have questions. You know, when I die, y'all make sure you get to my computer, and it doesn't have anything to do with porn.
Oh, there's several reasons.
Sorry, Cecil. You're SOL. But,
No
yeah,
links missing.
no, it's crazy.
So, final thoughts about the Aokigahara.
I think that is similar to like what happened in that I can't pronounce it, the Doltlov Pass incident.
Dovlov.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pass?
Like whatever it is, I can't pronounce shit. You know that.
I couldn't say that other word earlier.
No, I'm laughing at Landa.
Yeah.
But I think it's similar to that. Like something crazy happens, but it's just constant there. That
Right.
you know, there are some people that probably go there because it's like a tourist trap for suicide, which is weird to say. But I think some people go there, like you all were saying earlier, to like, I can beat it. I just want to go check it out, and then something overcomes them, and they kind of go mad or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, yeah. To me, to rethink the movie Predator, the Predator series, and how that shows that it comes from space, you know, somewhere wherever. What about these entities that can move in and out of our world?
Yeah,
True.
You know.
Yeah. Makes
It
sense.
could be their hunting ground. That could be a hunting lease.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I've often said, you know, the concept of hell is, I think it's going to be different for each individual person. You know, so what I might consider perfectly normal, you might consider pure hell. So if there are these beings that are going from one dimension to the other, that may be a weapon for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
I'm thinking if we're going not conventional, like, you know, cultural, deep rooted cultural issues, and we're talking about strictly weirdness, I do think that the magnetism, the spiritual activity there, the like the compass is going crazy. I think these are all symptoms of something. The caves being there is also a symptom.
Yeah.
The giant steps are a huge symptom. So I think maybe we could be talking about, you know, some sort of cursed artifact too, lost to history.
Yeah, because of the radius of the area, it's not very big. I mean,
like in some kind of temple or something, like that just hasn't been discovered.
Yeah, because it's buried underneath the lava flow.
And by artifact, I could also lean toward maybe like the body of a Nephilim.
Very well could.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know, it's
think about how thick the forest is too. Like that's weird.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you ever gone in and looked at some of the pictures of this forest and how the trees grow? It's crazy. I mean, just weird, very weird.
You know what? Speaking of Nimrod, all of my years of
Did anyone say Nimrod?
He's looking at me.
all of my years of being on the phones talking to people in a job I used to do back in the day, the funniest name I ever saw while I was working there of a real person.
I'm fairly sure this is illegal, but go ahead.
Well, I'm not saying what company or what the job was. I don't work there anymore. The person's name legal name was Nimrod Lumpkins.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, guys, I'm going to throw this out there. Okay, I work in a mail house. I mean, we literally have a post office in our building. I'm going to start saving the really good names and send into y'all.
I've got some good ones.
Yes.
The most badass name I ever seen was their last name was Bloodsport. I was like, that's tight.
Wow.
They changed their name to that. I'm pretty sure.
Badass.
Oh, yeah. No, we had a girl that was pregnant in the building one year when I was helping out in that department. And at the end of the day, I would send her a list of potential baby names. And my favorite was Caletta.
Well, I'll tell you that name was so impactful that a mutual employee, a peer, went home and changed their Xbox name to Nimrod Lumpkins.
If anybody out there is getting ready to have a child, they should name it Clarence Cecil. Just saying.
T-Bone.
Yes,
If
I
it's a
agree.
girl, you can name it Claire Cecile.
Well, damn, you've got that covered both ways.
They had a female name picked out for me, and I'm glad I wasn't born a girl because it was going to be Mamie Louise. No shit.
I think mine was either going to be what it is, or it was either going to be this or Dale Earnhardt. So I think I did pretty good.
Okay, I can beat you. My mother's younger sister, when she was born, her biological father was drunk in the waiting room because back then, men didn't go into the labor and delivery. And the nurse said, well, do y'all have a name picked out? He said, we sure do. If it's a boy, it's going to be Roy Rogers. And if it's a girl, it's going to be Dale Evans. And that is my aunt's name because that's what the nurse put on the birth certificate.
I've got one that's better. I got a friend. His mom, his two sisters are named Mary, Joe, and Rana. I'm not even joking. Mary,
God.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell you my grandmother's.
These comments are hilarious.
My grandmother's name was Willie Jewell. Willie Jewell McIntosh.
Okay, we got time for
My grandma's name.
Wow, Moorhead Swallows. I love that.
Does she have blonde hair?
I'll drop one more. So you have to think. I was talking to hundreds of people a day, like at least probably 80 people a day, and so you extrapolate that over years, and you see a lot of weird names.
Yeah.
So another one that sticks in my head. I was talking to this 80-year-old lady, and I didn't know how to pronounce her name at first, and her name was Arangelo.
Orange
And
Jello.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
Seriously?
seriously, she was I think like 83 years old, and it was Arangelo. It wasn't spelled exactly, but she was telling me the story, and she's like, yeah, I have a twin sister. Her name's Garangelo, and it's because all our mother could eat when she was in the hospital was orange and green Jello.
Oh God!
And she named them Arangelo and Garangelo.
Bless it. Bless it.
I bet they were Southern too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All she could eat, honey, was getting an orange Jello.
Wow.
My wife was glad that we didn't have any more kids for me to name. So
My ex-mother-in-law and her husband chose not to have children because they had both promised their mothers they would name a daughter after them if they had one. Her name would have been Ethel Auntie.
Ethel Auntie.
Ethel Auntie.
Ethel Auntie.
Yes.
And that right there, kids, that's birth control.
Yeah.
And that's been the story of this forest.
oh
Okay.
Nimrod, Nephilim, we're on topic. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but just to reiterate one last time, please, if
We
you
have
have
this
any thoughts,
the fucking
988 is the number.
988.
988.
What's that?
Suicide prevention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, nothing's so bad that it doesn't get better.
That's right.
Right.
Agreed.
I agree too.
So there's always somebody willing to listen. So, all right, guys. Well, I guess on that note, we're going to call it a night. It's been great. What do we have next weekend, Tully? I don't have it in front of me.
Don't put me on the spot. I can tell you in 5 seconds.
Okay, 4, 3.
It is the Knots of the Golden Circle.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
treasure hunt.
Stevens.
The treasure hunt.
Cool.
Confederate
What-
gold and silver buried across the country.
What are we coming to talk to Landa about?
Suicide.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
you need
gotcha.
somebody to talk to.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just come talk to us.
Absolutely.
You know,
We're
if you're
your
gonna go
group of fucking
crazy,
bloods.
if you're good, you know what? If you're to that point, you might as well listen, and you might as well join us.
Embrace the crazy.
Yeah,
Right.
just lean into it, and
Listen
we'll be
up.
right there with you the whole way.
Listen to 5 people with an attention span of a fucking goldfish.
But hey,
Well-
we have a good time.
We do have a great time.
Well, and I will say this:
Yeah.
whenever things are really bad, I just always remember that life is a wheel because it always comes back around.
Hey,
Yep.
It does.
everybody on this
You're right.
show helps me through my bad days.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Same here,
Same.
guys.
Yep. These are my people. So, all right, everyone, have a great night. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay weird.
Night, guys.
Bill